Okay, review over quadratic equations and functions. The first two problems are graphing problems. You need to graph the function on the coordinate plane, then you need to identify what the range is. Now there's two types of graphing we went over. There's y equals ax squared bx and c. If that's in that formation, we make three coordinates. Vertex is in the middle. To find the x at the vertex, otherwise known as your axis of symmetry, that's opposite of b divided by 2 times a. If we have y equals a is a number, and then x minus h, I like to call h the whole parentheses, to the second outside the parentheses plus k. We start with our parent function, just y equals x to the second, and then we make an xy table and pick 3 through negative 3. We raise all those numbers to the second power, and then I use my a, h, and k to translate the function. So, quite obvious here we have an a, a b, and a c. So I need three coordinates. Vertex is the middle. And to find the x at the axis of symmetry, you take opposite of b divided by 2 times a. So that's going to be 32, positive 32 because it's opposite, and then 2 times 4, and that's 8. So 32 divided by 8 is 4. Okay, so you have 4 in the middle. Then you go 1 to the right, 5, 1 to the left, 3. Then you plug those into your x. Okay. So 4 times 5 to the second, you're just evaluating with direct substitution. Okay, I got negative 59. That's a high number, but that's okay. I'll know if it's right when I do the 3. Okay, now I'll do the 4, find the y at the vertex. Got negative 63. Let's plug in 3 to make sure that that's back to negative 59, then I know that that's right. And it is. So my x is 5, 4, 3. My x's can go by 1s, but my y, we'd have to number that by 10s. Okay. So 5, negative 59. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 59 would be right about there. 4, negative 63. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and then 63. 3, negative 59, 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 59. Okay, round out your parabola. Remember, it's a curve, not a V. Now we're ready to identify the range. It's all about that middle point. Well, that's 4, negative 63. And the range is all about your y. So you take your y, negative 63, and from that vertex you go upward, so you're higher, so it'd be greater than or equal. It would eat the letter. Okay, my next problem, y equals negative 2 times the quantity x minus 4 to the second minus 6. So obviously that is an AHK form. Just put an H above the parentheses. I don't want people just saying, oh, negative 4, and then the K is the minus 6. So I write out my parent function. Y equals x to the second. And then I put 3 through negative 3. And I raise all of those numbers to the power of 2. So 3 to the second's 9, 2 to the second's 4, 1 to the second's 1, 0 to the second 0, and then we're back to 1, 4, 9, because when you raise negatives to the second, the product ends up as back at positive. Now we make the translation. Start with your x's, that's about the a, circle the h, set that expression equal to 0. So you add 4 to each side and you get 4. So I'm going to be adding 4 to all my x's. It's going to take all those coordinates and shift them 4 units to the right. So that's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now translate your y's. That has to do with that you're going to times by the a. You got to do that first, negative 2. then you minus the 6, okay, or add negative 6. So 9 times negative 2, subtract 6 from that, that would be negative 24. And I'm pretty sure that would be the same, because they're both 9s. Then 4 times negative 2 minus 6, it's going to be negative 14. And that would be negative 14. Then 1 times negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. And then that would also be negative 8. Then finally, the vertex itself times negative 2, 0 doesn't do anything, but minus 6 does. It's negative 6. Okay, now the x is 7, 1. I can go by 1s on the x, but I think we're going to have to go by 5s on the y to reach negative 24. So 7, negative 24. So I go forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but then down negative 5, 10, 15, 20, 24. 6, negative 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 10, 14's right there. 5, negative 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5, negative 8. 4, negative 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5, negative 6. And then it comes back around, okay? Symmetrical. And there's your parabola. Now, what's the range? Well, what's the middle point? The middle point is 4, negative 6. But it's really all about the negative 6. That's a y there. Copy machine cut it off. Then it goes down this time, so instead of greater than, it's going to be less than or equal. Okay, that's graphing. Now I'm going to flip over this sheet, solving. Guys, you got to label what you have. All of them have 2 answers. They're quadratic equations. If you have a and b, you make sure you have equal to 0. Then you factor out the GCF, and you're ready to find the 2 answers. If you have a and c, you don't even factor. You solve for the x to the second, then you solve for x with the square root, positive, negative. If you have a, b, and c all together, you just make sure you're equal to 0, then you apply the discriminant. Now, if that's a whole number, I want you to do the GCF in the table, and then the factoring. If it's an irrational decimal, you can use the sum, the quadratic formula. Now with a parentheses, if it's AHK form, you make your table. You set the inside on each side. Then you just take out the parentheses and replace it with h to the second. And then you solve for h to the second. H is positive, negative. So let's go ahead and solve. Okay, 7x to the second equals minus 28x equals 0. These all have 2 solutions. Label the a and the b. So that one's just an a and a b. So we make sure we're equal to 0, and then the GCF will take us home. It's still equal to 0. I'm just taking this and rewriting it. So on your multiplication table, which you can use on the test, 7 and 28 are both in the 7th row. Now, does that last term have x? Yes, it does. So I factor out 7x. Now I go up and divide by 7x. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Guys, it's not 1x squared. When you divide x squared by x, it's x. Then minus 4. And now I can solve the problem, okay? Because this 7x is factor 1, and then 1x minus 4 is factor 2. So I'll divide by 7, and I get 0. Then we add 4. 1x equals 4. Divide by 1, it's still 4. 4 and 0. 0 and 4, excuse me. Okay, my next one, I have x to the power of 2 minus 7x equals negative 12. So there's 2 answers. What do we have? Well, we always have an a, okay? Then a b and a c. A, B, C, you make sure you're equal to 0. There's no c over there. And now rewrite it. 1x second is the a, minus 7x, that's the b, plus 12, that's the c, then equal to 0. Now I apply the discriminant off to the side. Square root of b to the second minus 4a and c. So b is negative 7, a is 1, c is 12. Carry your minus, now take negative 7 times itself, that's 49. And 4 times 1 times 12 is 48. Well, that is 1, and the square root of 1 equals a whole number, okay? It's 1. So I got a whole number, so I want to do the I need you to do the I need you to factor it, okay? So GCF, and then the table. So GCF, 1, 7, and 12 is just 1. Your last term does not have x, and your a is positive, so that leaves you with just 1, so don't do it. Now 1 times 12 is 12, positive 12, so the signs have to be a match. Either negative, negative, or positive, positive, but since I have to add the negative 7, they'll probably both be negative. 1 and 12, no. 2 and 6, no. That's close, but that doesn't count. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Bam, there it is. Now your a, put what a equals. A is 1x to the second. Now you can discard the 1 as long as it's a 1, and x seconds just x times x. So it's just 2 parentheses, x minus 3, x minus 4, equals 0. And the GCF we didn't do, so I don't need to put anything in the front. So I've taken this and rewritten it in factored form. F1, F2. So x minus 3 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. So I add 3. You get 3 plus 4, I get 4, 3 and 4. Okay, my next problem, negative 4x to the second power plus 2 equals negative 158. There's 2 answers. I've got a and 2 c's. So if all I have is a and c, I need to solve for the x to the second, then I solve for the x with a square root. Okay. First we need to obviously solve for the x to the second power. Okay. So I subtract 2. Negative 4x to the second would equal negative 160. Then we divide by negative 4. X to the second would equal positive 40. So we're at 40 now. And then I apply a square root. Now, the square root of 40 is not a perfect. This is how I expect AC answers to be written. Okay, 40 is not on here. So I start dividing. I put divided by. So we take 40 divided by 36 decimal. Then divide by 25 decimal. Divide by 16 decimal. Divided by 9 decimal. Divided by 4, bam. So when I get that, I write 2 square roots. I put the number I divided by and the answer I got, 4 and 10. And then the square root of 4 turns into 2. So it is 2 square root 10. So 2 square root 10 and 2 square root 10 negative. I'm not accepting decimals on the AC problems. Okay, next one. 5x to the power of 2 minus 27x plus 10 equals 0. So there would be 2 answers. So I've got A, B, and C all there. So A, B, C, make sure you're equal to 0. Now apply the discriminant to see if you have to do factoring or the quadratic formula. So B is negative 27. Then we have 4, A is 5, and C is 10. So I will take negative 27 times itself. Don't rely on the caret. That's 729. Then you take 4 times 5 times 10. That's 200. Did I do that right? Negative 27, 4, 5, 10. Yeah, I did. Okay. I think I did. Wait a second, guys. I want to change this problem. We got something wrong. Sorry for my idiocy. Negative 27 times negative 27. 729. Okay. 4 times 5 times 10. 200. Okay. So I get 529. Okay. Never mind, I'm right. So square root of 529. I take my calculator and see if that's a whole number or a decimal. Whole number. Okay. So you're factoring. If that's equal to a whole number, I don't want you using quadratic formula because I said so. You need to remember how to factor. GCF and then the table. 5, 27, and 10 is just a 1. Okay. C does not have an X. The 10 doesn't have an X, so don't put an X in it. Just be positive 1. So 5 times 10 is 50. Positive again. So the signs have to be a match. If it's a negative, they have to be the opposite. You have to add to negative 27, so we want to keep them both at negative. 1 and 50, no. 50 divided by 2 is 25, right there. There it is, okay? Now what does your A equal? This is why you can't overlook that. A is 5x to the second. So you can't get rid of a 5, you need to make 2 sets of the parentheses, 4 total, and then we put 5, 5, and then the x squared is split into x and x. Minus 2, minus 25. Now we don't want to leave it like that. 5 and 2 are in the first row, so that will stay 5x minus 2. 5 and 25 are in the fifth row, so we divide that by 5, and that becomes x, or 1x, minus 5. Cross it out, cross the top 2 out. And then that's equal to 0. I have now put that into factored form. So F1, F2. So 5x minus 2 could equal 0, or 1x minus 5 could equal 0. So I add 2 to each side. 5x equals 2, divide by 5, and we'll roll it 2/5. Plus 5, 1x equals 5, divided by 1 would still be 5. So 2/5 and 5. Okay, next problem. 5 times a quantity, x minus 3 to the second equals 25. So there are 2 answers, okay? But that's an A, this is H. There is no K. You don't need a K, okay? You don't label the number over there. So with an AHK, I make that table, and I set the inside of the expression equal on both sides. Now I take that parentheses out and just replace it with H to the second though, and it's got a multiplier of 5. The A doesn't go away, there is no K. Equals 125. Then I solve for H to the second, and then I will solve for H with a square root. So I divide by 5, and H to the second equals 25. So we have what H to the second equals, and 25 is a perfect square, so it's just 5. I don't need to do that divide crap. So I put 5 and negative 5. Then I add 3. 8 is my first answer. I add 3. Negative 5 plus 3, that's negative 2 is my second. Okay, next problem. 5x to the second power plus 10x minus 3 equals 0. So now we're back to ABC form. Make sure you're equal to 0, you are. Then you go to apply your discriminant to see the next order of business. So B is 10, A is 5, and C is negative 3. So 10 to the second, you take 10 times 10, that's 100. Then 4 times 5 times negative 3. Negative 60. That'd be 160. Now what's the square root of 160? An irrational decimal, so we will be using the quadratic formula. Now I want to write that down rounded to the nearest hundred. It's approximately 12.65, and then I sing opposite of b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a over 2a. So we're going to have negative 10, and then a is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Now the square root has already been evaluated. It's been approximated to 12.65. So we have negative 10, and then 10 on bottom, and 12.65. Then I take negative 10 plus 12.65 equals, and then divide by the 10 on the bottom, 0.27. Now I don't really care how it's rounded. Then I take the negative 10 and subtract 12.65, click equals, then divide by the 10 on the bottom, and that's negative 2.27. Okay, and that's your equation solving. Now the next problem is a one where people are not going to like. This is the one to study up on. I wrote some things down to help you out. Not this thing down there, that makes it worse. That's garbage. Write a quadratic equation of the given parabola. You got to find replacements for a, h, and k. Now, first I find hk. That's the vertex point. The vertex is left, so negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. The k is the vertical, 1, 2. So, put negative 3 for h. Now, if it's minus negative, you make it plus plus, and then the k is 2. Okay? Now, we're not ready for our answer. We have to find our a. So here's what I want you to do. You need to write what your equation has now. Y equals a. It's x plus 3, because it was minus negative, to the second, and then plus 2. You basically copy down what you have so far. Now to find a, you need to find replacements for x and y. You need to find another coordinate. I mean, I have 2 marked here, so that would be negative 1, and that would be also negative 1. So y is negative 1, and x is negative 1. Here's what you need to do to avoid messing this up. Put a times, because that means times. Now, circle that whole expression to the second power and bring it over here. Negative 1 plus 3 to the second. Well, negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 2 to the second means 2 times itself, and that's 4. So a is times by 4, and then we also have a plus 2. Now, don't add those two. You can't do that. Write that so the 4 is in front of the a. So 4a, then plus 2. Then you minus your 2. That takes you to negative 3 equals 4a. Divide by 4. You can write the decimal. Just keep it negative 3/4. And now I come up here and I have the replacement for a. But y and x go back to themselves. So negative 3/4, x plus 3 to the second, plus 2. And there's the quadratic function. You can check your answer if you go negative 3 ABC4 parentheses x. So we'll put negative 1 in for x. Then we'll plus 3, raise it to the second, plus 2. When I click equals, I better get negative 1. And I did. Okay, so that's the answer. You really got to know how to find the a. Okay. Again, you carry down what you had. Y equals a, x plus 3 to the second plus 2. Then you find replacements for y and x. Clear those out of there. Negative 1. Then circle that thing to the second power. Negative 1 plus 3 to the second is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. But then we rewrite it as 4a. A times 4 is rewritten as 4a. Then plus 2. Then you minus the 2 to get you to negative 3. And then divide by 4, negative 3/4. Okay. Alright, now story problems. That one's actually harder than the story problems. We've seen these story problems before. A skateboard shop sold 50 skateboards last week. They were selling them for $70 a piece. The store thinks that each time they decrease the price by $1, one more skateboard will be sold. How many times should the store change the price to maximize their revenue? What will the revenue be? Maximum revenue. Look at the bottom. Anytime I'm finding a maximum, I know how to find it. And that's not the quadratic formula. It's part of it, but it's just opposite of b divided by 2 times a, no square root. Now, this isn't gravity. This is a revenue, okay? Revenue equals 2 parentheses, dollars times the items that I sell. So circle your two money amounts, $70 and $1. 70 is your starting amount. Don't put X on that. Then decrease by $1. That would mean -1, but you're decreasing it by $1 over and over and over. You don't know how many dollar decreases there are, so X. Now, if my price is minusing, then the items I sell are increasing. Now, what do we have for those? Well, we have 50 and 1. So 50 is your starting amount, then 1x. Well, you don't have an A and a B and a C. Well, you need to multiply. You need to do the FOIL method up here. So you take 70 times 50. Then you take 70 times 1x. Then you don't take 1x times 50, you take negative 1x times 50. And then you take negative 1x times 1x. So that's 3,500. That's 70x. That's negative 50x. And that's negative 1, but then x times x is x to the second. Now I'm ready to go with my A, my B, and my C. So x to the second power is -1. Okay, that's our A. For the B, I need to add 70 and negative 50. That would be 20. That's your B. And then 3,500 is the C. Now I'm in the clear. The opposite of B is -20. 2 times -1. That's -2. I divide, I get 10. Now the 10 is how many price changes there were. Okay, if I do that, what's the maximum revenue? Now I just replace my x's with 10s, okay? And that finds our maximum revenue. So I would take -1 times 10 to the second plus 20 times 10 plus 3,500. 3,600. That's your maximum revenue. Again, money times items, money times items. Put your money amounts together and your items, FOIL, you'll have your A, B, C you're looking for. Okay, now, this is the problems we did yesterday, and I've set up scratch paper on the back for A. A missile is launched into the air with an initial vertical velocity of 800 feet per second from an initial height of 200 feet above the ground. Calculate the missile's maximum height. Actually, why don't we just rip that paper off? Keep looking back at the information. Okay, so just like the last problem, maximum's opposite of B divided by 2 times A. But you don't even need to put x, y, okay? This is gravity, okay? So, gravity equation's easy to write. Blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals y. Gravity, -16. The velocity comes next. That's 800. Then the starting height goes here. That's 200. So the opposite of the B, it's already set up. I don't need to FOIL here. Revenue you do, gravity you don't. It's already set up. negative 800, and then 2 times negative 16, and that's negative 32. Okay, 25. So it took 25 seconds to get to the maximum height, but what's the actual maximum height? Well, we're going to substitute 25 into the equation for x, and that will find my output, my feet. Feet's the dependent variable. Probably help if you get it punched in right. 10,200. So, 10,200 feet. You just write that on your paper, but I want to see this for your work. B, calculate at what time the missile will be 200 feet above the ground. Now it starts at 200, so it's going to be 500 feet twice on the way up and the way down. So I'm expecting a couple answers that are positive. Okay, same information, but now I'm not finding the maximum, so you would be best served to set up your boxes for the units, the graph, and then the equation. So feet and seconds would be your units. X is feet, Y is seconds, then per. Feet per second. The feet per second is 800. 800 times x. But it's not a linear, so I don't make a table. It's a parabolic. Just mark your starting height, 200. Then organize your gravity equation. Kind of with parabolas, you just have to know how to write the font. This person. We did maximum. We did area too, but that won't be on your test. So negative 16. 800, and 200. Now, in the problem, they're asking me what time the missile will be 500 feet above the ground. So 500 feet has to go into the function for the y variable. So y is 500. So now we have negative 16x to the second plus 800x plus 200 equals 500. So there are two answers, okay? So, when we have a quadratic function without parentheses, I think we need to label what we have. We have an A, we have a B, we have a C, and we have another C. Well, ABCs we need 0, so I need to clear out this 500. Minus it from 200. So now I have negative 16x second, that's your A, plus 800x, that's your B. 200 minus 500 is negative 300, that's your C, equals 0. Now I apply the discriminant, because gosh, I would hate to have to try to factor that. Okay, so that's what this thing does. It tells me if factoring for you can be factored. So 800 is B, then A is negative 16, and C is negative 300. Please do not be lazy with the second power. You take 800 times itself. Don't just do the caret key. 640,000. Keep it together. Then I take 4 times negative 16 times negative 300, and I get 19,200. And I minus 620,800. Now, is that a perfect square? Well, we're about to find out. It's not. It's an irrational decimal. It's 787, approximates to 787.91, so I'm going to the quadratic formula. Opposite of b plus or minus b square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac, over 2a, over 2a. So, negative 800. The whole square root we know is 787.91. And then a is negative 16, so that's negative 32. So now clean this up. Negative 800, negative 32, and then 787.91. So I take negative 800 plus 787.91 and divide by negative 32, 0.38. and then negative 800 minus 787.91 divided by negative 32, and you get 49.62. Both of those are positive, so we need to write them both down. So 0.38 and 49.62. That's x, so it's seconds on the label.